Good afternoon, sports fans. You're here. We're here for another. Why are you laughing, man? I'm getting started. I'm Elias Corey. I'm going to be your host of the Flop Warning today. I'm joined by two lovely guests. I'll let them introduce themselves, actually. No, I'm just kidding. We've got Zion Brown. We've got Josh Bodie. Wow. And our producer, who's causing me a lot of issues already, is Owen.
I didn't say a word. Throwing shots, man.
Owen, can you get the camera on yourself so that people can see who's all right? Yep.
Yep, it's my fault. Sorry.
It is. He started laughing during the intro, but we got to...
Well, to be fair, I did too.
I did too. All right. So it's actually a really serious show. We've got a lot to get into because yesterday was... I was talking to my family about it. I think yesterday was probably my fifth favorite day of the year because you've got my birthday, you've got Christmas, and then you've got the Thursday, Friday that open up March Madness.
I'm actually really surprised, your birthday is your favorite day of the year. I feel like for guys, your birthday usually isn't your favorite day.
It's probably second.
After you turn 21, your birthday gets significantly worse. I think through 18, it's fun. 19, 20, don't care. 21, awesome. 22 through the end.
Wow.
Less fun.
My 21st was
Sorry
so
to get morbid so early in this podcast.
No, my 21st was just, I don't know. I didn't really do anything. I don't know. I like my birthday because I like to celebrate me. But then Christmas, get to see my whole family. Thursday, I get to avoid the Thursday of March Madness, and that Friday I get to avoid all people and just watch basketball. And then yesterday was supposed to be a really good day, but we'll get into later why I'm really unhappy with how yesterday went. But I think I just want to hear to get us started. What are your guys' initial reactions? Obviously, Selection Sunday has come and went. What were your guys' first thoughts when the bracket dropped?
Well, I made it 2.5 regions until one of my friends that I was watching the show with got really frustrated with me because after every team that was revealed, I was like, what? They got an 8 seed? They're a 5 seed? And he wasn't a huge fan of that. I think the committee was pretty bad this year. I think there were a lot of seed line question marks that I was shocked by. Because of all the bid stealers, the bubble was wild, and I think that the perception of the bubble by bracketologists was completely different than the perception of the bubble by the committee. I was shocked by how the Mountain West was completely undervalued, in my opinion. And there were a couple bubble question marks for me. I think FAU is an 8, Michigan State is a 9, Texas A&M as a 9, all safely in the tournament was a question to me. And I thought that it was Iowa State and UNC as the two teams that were pushing for that last 1 seed. I actually thought Iowa State was going to get it. I think they have a better resume than UNC. They have more quad 1 wins, less quad 2 losses, but Iowa State ended up being the 8th overall seed. So they weren't even in the running. That I thought was baffling to me as well. But I'll kick it to Zion here for the rest of this.
Yeah, I agree with so much of what you said. The bubble was always going to be subjective because of all the bid thieves we saw at the end of the week and throughout the week, really, and everything and it was just the most hectic bubble of all time. It's understandable that, some people, some bracketologists, like you said, may not agree with what the actual bubble decisions were. But I tweeted this, all across the bracket, the seeding was just baffling, really. It didn't make sense. Like you said, FAU safely being in, I'm fine with them not even having to go into Dayton, but them being an 8 seed just didn't make sense to me. I mean, they don't have an 8 seed resume. They have 1 great win, and outside of that, they have a lot of bad losses and just confusing losses. And if this team didn't make the Final Four last year, I don't think we are that they're an 8 seed at all. It doesn't make sense that they're an 8 seed. It's about what you did this season right now, and this season they were on the bubble. And so just stuff like that all over the bracket and everything. Like you said, I didn't love it. I was fine with UNC being the 4th 1 seed, but like you said, the fact that Iowa State in the committee's eyes wasn't even close doesn't make sense. It just felt like the committee just wasn't on their A game and almost paying the most attention this week or throughout the week or throughout the whole season to really seed these teams in the correct spots.
Yeah, no, I think you guys bring up a lot of really good points. I don't have a ton to add because I feel like you guys kind of covered everything. I think the one thing, or the team that I didn't hear you guys mention actually, no, Josh did. I'm stupid. Michigan State.
Yes.
Michigan State as a 9 is ridiculous. I mean, what have they done other than obviously a win against Baylor and a win against Illinois, but they finished 500 in the conference. 500 in the Big Ten, which was pretty porous this year. I mean, what did they finish in the Big Ten? Were they 10th? No,
They
eighth.
were 8th, I
Eighth,
think.
yeah.
8th in the Big Ten.
14 losses.
14 losses.
That's a lot. That's a
19
lot.
and 14.
That is
19.
a lot of losses to just be safely in the field and not even having to play in Dayton. That's a lot.
And I think the funniest thing about the resume is strictly based off quad records. Indiana has the exact same quad 1 record, slightly different quad 2 record. Indiana has a quad 3 loss. Michigan State doesn't have a quad 3 loss, but they both have the same amount of quad 2 victories. They're just like 80 spots off in the net. So that I think is like the funniest thing where like Michigan State and Indiana, looking strictly at the quad wins and losses, are like very, very similar teams. And that they got a 9 seed and were safely in, 9 seed. They should have been way closer to Dayton than they were.
Absolutely. No, I mean, Michigan State exposes one of my biggest gripes with Ken Pom, and I love Ken Pom. Just as a sports statistics guy, it's really, really cool. But I do not like the way that the luck rating is presented, because I think out of 362 teams, Michigan State was like towards 350 last time I looked in their like overall luck rating. And so people look at that and they think, oh, Michigan State just has 355 now. They have bad luck. They lose games that they're good enough to win. And I feel like calling it a luck rating is actually really misleading, because what it really means when you boil it down is that Michigan State underperforms their potential. That like they have guys with good metrics. They have guys who can score the ball. Obviously, Tyson Walker and AJ Hoggard are good scorers. Mady Sissoko should be one of the best rebounders in the country, let alone the Big Ten. And they're just not doing it. So you can say all you want that Michigan State should be this, they should be that. Tom Izzo's went to, is it 26 now? 26 straight tournaments.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I think
second longest streak in the country, I think.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember if it was 25 this year or if it's 25 going into this year. But either way, like you can look at their resume from past years and be like, yeah, Michigan State probably would get in. But they just this year, they just haven't done enough to get into the tournament. So it's blasphemy to me that Michigan State made it over a team like Pitt, a team like Seton Hall. Obviously, Indiana State should have been on that 5 line. Not even a last four. That's another thing. But honestly, there's something I'm really excited about is like the different storylines that we've got coming into this tournament. So we've got one of my teams I'm really going to be watching is Marquette, and obviously you've got the really, really terrible injury to Micah Hanlon yesterday. I just want to know like what are some storylines that you guys are watching as we approach the play-in games, and then obviously the tournament tipping off on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, just like a funny bracketing tidbit that I thought was kind of cool. UConn could end up playing the other 2 Final Four teams from last year that made the tournament in back-to-back games. If FAU beats Northwestern, they'd play them in the second round. I mean, obviously, given UConn beats Stetson, but let's be real here. And then
put some respect on Jalen Blackman, man.
Yeah, no, really, he had a 40 bomb in the conference tournament championship.
He lit me up once in travel hoops back in the day.
All right,
Zion was like that.
I wasn't. That's why I got lit up, and he's playing in the NCAA tournament this week.
Anyways, they could play FAU in the second round, and then they could play San Diego State in the Sweet 16. But the real storyline that I'm kind of keeping my eye on right now is the Caleb Love versus UNC potential in the Elite Eight. And that game would be out west as well, close to Arizona. The tensions would be really high. The other interesting thing about that, a 1 seed hasn't played a 2 seed in the Elite Eight since 2019.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, wow.
Chances are, so that's 3 straight tournaments without that happening. Anyways, chances are one of those 2 teams lose before the Elite Eight. I think Arizona is very upset prone. But if that happens, I think that would be one of, if not the biggest storyline of the tournament, depending on whether or not, UConn going back to back, but I think that would be the storyline I'm keeping my eye on.
To me, it's that East region, which is the UConn region. I mean, I seriously could see 4 teams coming out of this one, right? All the top 4 seeds in this region. And although I did just kind of question Florida Atlantic, you could at least say this team has been through it. They return more production than any team in the country. And although they were much worse this year, they know what it's like to go through those runs, to go deep into a game and be in a close game that's decided at the very end. So they're there too. So this East region is just a gauntlet. Man, Auburn, when they're at their best, I mean, they're one of the best teams in the country when they're at their best. And we talk about the metrics. The metrics show that about them. They don't always play to that level, but when they are, my goodness, it is scary. Illinois is a team that I really liked the way they finished the season. Obviously, they just won the Big Ten tournament, but even just not the fact that they won the Big Ten tournament, but the fact that they have reinstated Dane Danger into their rotation, which means that now they can play with or without him, which in the beginning of the season, he just completely fell out of the rotation and they're playing the small ball all the time. Now they can go big again if they need to. And so this whole region, and then of course, Iowa State just demolished Houston en route to winning the Big 12. So this whole region, I'm just ready. I'm going to be watching as many games as I can from this east side of the bracket because my goodness, it is a gauntlet.
Yeah, the computers love the teams in that region, and I think they're all really good teams. But I think they're all teams that, like, if you catch them on the wrong day, UConn's going to beat them by like 25 points.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. But that doesn't mean they will catch them on the wrong day.
Exactly.
Iowa State, for example, they're not a great team, but let's say they meet UConn in the Elite Eight. With Iowa State, what I like about them is because of the way they play, I feel like they can keep that game in striking distance the whole way. Even if they never actually are in control of that game, that's a game that will probably be within 10, all 40 minutes of the game. And then if, they just make a couple of shots and go on a run, get a couple of stops, turnovers is what Iowa State does, then all of a sudden you look up in a minute left and that's a tie game or something. So I'm excited just to see how this kind of shakes out and who makes it where. Obviously, UConn should be the favorite to come out of that region, but there's a lot of good teams.
I think for me, maybe not the biggest storylines, but two of my favorites just heading into it are the dynamic of Long Beach State right now. After their head coach was fired before their conference tournament, but told that he's allowed to continue coaching for the remainder of the tournament, and he got Long Beach State to win their conference tournament, and they've got a bid. Now they're playing Arizona in the first round, and obviously that game is most likely going to go the way of the Wildcats. But what a cool way to kind of finish off your tenure as a coach, because realistically, he's coaching his way into a new job now, because surely he's not going to stick around at Long Beach State after they've already fired him. There's no way he would end up being their coach next year, even if they offer the job back. But what are the odds now that he's coached his way into another decent job and is going to bring his roster with him? That's just an interesting thing that I've sort of been paying attention to. And then the ACC champion NC State Wolfpack is one that I'm really interested in. Primarily, I think they beat Texas Tech. I'm really interested in the potential of that second round matchup against Kentucky, because I like the experience on NC State. I obviously like the size of DJ Burns Jr. I think that's one of the most unstoppable players in college basketball right now. He looks eerily similar to the tornado that came through Bloomington just last week. Like, just destructive. Come on, guys, you gotta laugh.
It took me. That joke took a while to register with me.
I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know if it's Monday morning. It's not even morning anymore. It's almost 2:00. I don't know if it's Monday after break or if it was just not a great joke.
I think it was just a big joke.
Went right over my head. I was thinking of another big guy that just came to Bloomington and tore up the Hoosiers.
I was like,
all right,
like Michigan State.
Well, I did say tornado, so.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking about basketball.
Were you guys in Bloomington on?
I was up in Indy, so.
Okay. Well, you guys got a tornado too, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't really affect I was on the west side. I don't know what you're south side, right? I don't. It didn't affect me, thankfully. Sorry to those.
You know what a tornado is.
There was a tornado here last week.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Did you not get the notifications on your phone?
I can't remember. I might have.
It was, I think, Thursday.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because it was the day that IU played
Penn State.
Penn State. Yeah, because I was at B-Dubs for that game, and then the building next door to us. Yeah, the building next door to us. I'm pretty sure caught on fire. So there were like 8 fire trucks. It was kind of nuts. Dang. But anyways, you guys didn't understand the joke. That's fine. You're just a junior and senior in college. You should know what a tornado is. Dang it.
I was thinking about basketball.
Which
I was actually thinking about Robbie Avila.
Well, again, probably the 2 most talented centers in the country right now. But I really like that matchup with Kentucky, because what's the one thing Kentucky hasn't been able to do this year that we've talked about so much?
Play defense.
Play any defense. I'm scoring 30 on Kentucky, 11 of me. We're not winning, but it says something that somebody who can't play basketball would score 30, and I honestly think we're probably putting up closer to 5. But, we'd score. And I really like the guards at NC State that have stepped up. I mean, DJ Horn can just score the basketball with the best of them right now. Because I don't care what NC State did in, December, January, February. But I like what DJ Horn did in the ACC tournament. I really like this Morsell kid. I can't quite remember his first name right now. Casey Morsell. One of the best perimeter defenders in the conference. And I'm really excited to see how he matches up with these young freshman guards at Kentucky, if that is the matchup that we get. That's something I'm definitely watching for.
May I counter by just saying this team played really poorly going into the ACC tournament, and then they had a great week. I don't know if they're to be trusted to have another great week.
Well, you don't have to trust them. I do. I think, the thing that I like is they won 5 games in 5 days. And a lot of people are going to say that, that might tire them out.
That tired me out.
Of course, it would tire anybody in this room out. We're not Division I athletes.
That is true.
But, I'll tell you what, they did look pretty worn down in that game against North Carolina yesterday. But what you got to remember is now they've experienced playing 5 games in 5 days, and they've experienced winning 5 games in 5 days. So they're the only team in the country. Apart from probably some mid-majors that won 5 games in 5 days.
I don't know. I don't think anybody else did that. Yeah.
NC State was only the second team ever to do it.
Well,
UConn when they won the Natty in 2011 was the only other team to do it.
Well, there it is.
NC State's winning the Natty.
NC State to the national championship.
Okay, guys, that's a pod.
Who's stopping DJ Burns?
It's a movable force versus unstoppable. I don't remember what it is. What the saying is.
Unstoppable force versus a movable object.
There you go. Trends that have only happened one time. NC State, 5 wins in 5 days in their conference tournament. UConn did the same thing, won the national championship. Purdue lost to Sweet 16 seed last year.
I was about to say.
Virginia lost to 16 seed, then wins the national championship. So that means basically only
it's going to be a great
State
Final Four game.
Or Purdue can win the national championship.
Something's got to give either NC State or Purdue, which I believe means it has to be NC State because, come on, it's March. This is Purdue's time to shine. McNeese is waiting for them in round 3 in the Sweet 16, and I'm excited for it. All right, so obviously it's a big bracket. We've got a lot of matchups to talk about, but not a lot of time to talk about them. I want to know, what are some of these first round matchups that you guys are really looking forward to? Some teams that you think might be on upset watch, some teams that you think might be a team to force an upset and maybe make a deep run.
I think the most intriguing game for me is the Wisconsin JMU 5-12, and I think it's probably the trendiest upset pick. I don't know what the ending percentage is going to be, but I'm going to assume around 50% of America is probably going to choose JMU. And Wisconsin looked awesome last week in the Big Ten tournament. Looked like they got back to their first 20 games form. Not the way that they were playing in mid-January and February, but I don't know. The Big Ten tournament's been a curse recently. The teams that have played well in it have played really poorly in the NCAA tournament. JMU is a really good team. They're 34th in effective field goal percentage. They make shots. And they played a tempo that's a lot different than Wisconsin. So I think that's a trendy upset pick. And also, I think just in general, the most intriguing first-round matchup for me.
Mm-hmm. Man, just sidebar, that Big Ten championship yesterday was a great game to watch. That was really fun to watch. I'm going to go in that same region, but a different game, the 8-9 game between Nebraska and Texas A&M, because these are 2 teams that have proven this year that when they get it going, they can beat anybody. Nebraska, we saw them obviously beat Purdue. Texas A&M, we saw them beat Tennessee and Kentucky throughout the season. So that game to me is a really interesting one. You have the very funny storyline of Trev Alberts, the Nebraska AD, just last week left to be the Texas A&M AD. So I really hope he's courtside for this game and that whatever channel it's on, they are panning to him after every play on either side, because that is a really funny matchup to me.
He should wear one of those split jerseys.
or just
for the women's tournament too.
Oh yes, they are. They're playing in both, which is so that you can't tell me that was coincidental.
Oh no, that was 100% planned. I actually didn't know about the AD thing until yesterday. I was confused why it was a big thing on Twitter. I'm oh, that's actually awesome.
I didn't realize that either. I don't pay attention to AD news that much. No offense, I just don't care a lot of the time. But seeing that and that the fact that he moved in the middle of the season is really funny. So I'm interested in that matchup because of those 2 teams, because of the AD storyline, but because also I could see either of those teams beating Houston if they get hot in the second round. So I really want to see that matchup. And if either of those teams, Nebraska in particular, because of how often they shoot threes, Houston lets you shoot threes. Now, teams don't shoot well against Houston from three usually, but they're going to let you get them up. So that is a matchup that I am really interested in this week.
Yeah, no, great picks. I'm going to go with the two of the other 5-12s that we didn't really talk about because some interesting. I'm pretty sure it's 32 of the last 38 tournaments have had a 12 upsetting a 5. At least one 12 upsetting a 5, which is, I don't know, that's a fun upset to watch for me. I like Grand Canyon, St. Mary's. I think that's going to be a really good matchup. I really liked what I saw from St. Mary's in their obviously limited exposure in the WCC because that conference tournament is set up wildly for the first 2 seeds. They only had to play one game to make it to the championship. And then, so they just have to figure out a way to win back-to-back games to win their conference tournament, which is kind of sick. But Grand Canyon, the metrics are so good for them. I think that's going to be a really good matchup. If Grand Canyon is able to get quality shots up, they shoot the ball with some of the best in the country. They don't really turn the ball over. So I don't know. That's what I'm really excited for. The one that I'm excited to watch, but really sad that the bracket shook out this way is going to be Gonzaga McNeese, just because I really liked what I saw from Gonzaga the last month and a half or so. I mean, we were talking about Gonzaga as
a bubble team.
Oh yeah,
and
probably
by the way,
I
do think they were kind of overseeded. I think
Yeah,
they
should
were
have been a 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh yeah, no, I agree. But they've looked good as of late. But McNeese is there aren't a lot of teams that look better from a metrics perspective in the country than McNeese. Obviously, their best win might be Michigan, which isn't a good win. I mean, did Michigan win a conference game this year? No.
3.
They won 3. Okay. We're probably against Indiana. Obviously, they weren't against Indiana.
Indiana beat them.
I know that. It's just if I was going to pick a Big Ten team to lose a game to Michigan, it would be Indiana. Obviously, it wasn't, but it would have been. Anyways, like what I see from McNeese, the metrics are just too good. I really value teams that shoot a high volume of three-pointers because I think what it comes down to in March is who just scores the basketball better. I think defense is obviously a big factor, but I definitely value offense above defense when it comes to March basketball, which is why I'm probably leaning more towards a team like Alabama or Kentucky than I would lean a team like Iowa State that defends exceptionally well but doesn't score exceptionally well. So I think that McNeese Gonzaga matchup is going to be pretty good because I can see whoever wins that matchup being a team that makes an Elite Eight run. Honestly, I really like that one.
Well, really?
Yeah. Who do you think? Obviously, I see Purdue. But Purdue already played Gonzaga. Gonzaga was at their worst. That was when Gonzaga was playing their worst basketball. Was at the beginning of the season when they played Purdue. And it was a close game, wasn't it?
As improved as Gonzaga is, I still don't think they could beat Purdue.
I think they could beat Purdue. I don't think they're better than Purdue.
Right. Okay.
But I think
I can accept that.
I don't think the best team. I think very rarely the best team in the country wins the tournament. I don't think the 4 best teams are really ever the Final Four.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's not about who's better this season. It's about who's better this day. And so do I think Purdue might beat Gonzaga 7 out of the 10 times they play? Sure.
Yeah.
But I think Gonzaga has the potential to upset Purdue. I think McNeese has the potential to upset Purdue because they're a double-digit seed. And a double-digit seed, no matter how far out of it they may seem against, any quad 1 team, you always tend to favor the double-digit seed when they play the Boilers. So that's a matchup I'm really watching as 2 teams that could get to the Elite Eight in what I think is one of the weaker regions, honestly, which is...
Yeah, I agree. If this isn't the year Purdue gets to the Elite Eight or Final Four, then it's because like you said, this is one of the weaker regions. But then again, we didn't call the region itself weak, but 2 years ago when St. Peter's made the Sweet 16, we were saying, okay, if this is the year, Purdue does it, and they didn't do it. So
sure. And I mean, I look at the 2 seed in the Midwest region, and Tennessee's shown a lot of flaws this year.
They were the hottest team in the country, and then they just had 2 duds where their offense was atrocious in their last 2 games.
Mm-hmm. And I guess
tough. Connect had 40 against Kentucky, but everyone else on the floor was atrocious.
That's the issue with them. Even though they are much better offensively than they have been in the past, it's still so reliant on one guy scoring.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I don't super trust in March because, I mean, I I trust it more during March than I do in the regular season, because in regular season you have time to game plan. And when you're on short prep, you're not going to have as ton of time to or as much time to figure out how you're going to guard one guy and how you're going to key in on a team on defense. But that's why this potential Texas-Tennessee matchup could be really cool. Just looking at two raw scorers going at it with Max Abmas and the Max Abmas NCAA tournament legend and Dalton Connect. I'm excited for the potential of that matchup, just seeing the back and forth between those two guys.
And you've got the Rick Barnes storyline there. I don't know. Has he played? Has Tennessee played against Texas since he's been there? I'm not sure.
I have absolutely no idea, but there is.
But I mean, he was. How long was he there at Texas here? 98 to 15, so 17 years. He was the Texas head coach, and they let him go for Shaka Smart there. So that is, not that it's been almost a decade now, but not that it's still prevalent necessarily. But there is the storyline that just, hey, this guy that was at Texas for so long has a chance to now beat him in the tournament.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then, so obviously in the past, the last few shows, we've done a flop and a fab of the weeks, but we're into bracket season now. So we're going to change gears just a little bit. And we're going to start with sort of our reimagined fab with who do you guys have as a team that you think is just a lock for like the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16, a team that you think seems really comfortable, you like their path to make a deep run this month?
I actually like Samford here. I think Kansas.
Are you locking them in somewhere? Where is this to? The Sweet 16?
This is going to be tentatively. I think they have a good shot at making the Sweet 16.
Okay.
I think honestly,
I'll hear you out.
That little quadrant of 4 teams, I think whoever I choose, I'm going to be wrong about. Regardless, if I go chalk, wrong, upsets, wrong, one of each, wrong. So I'll just go out on a limb and say Samford. They are one of the better offensive teams in the country. They're 7th in effective field goal percentage, 14th in tempo. They play fast. They play with a deep bench. Seth Davis mentioned yesterday on the broadcast, these games are in Salt Lake City, where altitude, I guess, could play a factor, actually. So a deeper rotation for Samford could benefit them. And I think Kansas, since they're missing McCullough, or they could be missing McCullough and Dickinson,
they won't be 100%.
They looked terrible against Cincinnati without them.
Yeah.
I think they're upset prone this year, and I think Gonzaga is beatable. McNeese is beatable. I think Samford could be a Cinderella story here next Monday.
I'm going to lock in Marquette to the Elite Eight. I'm picking them to make at least the Final Four, but I'm going to lock them into at least the Elite Eight as a 2 seed there. Now, I will say it's been concerning, the Kolek stuff, just because, I don't know, I don't like when teams keep saying, oh, he for sure will be ready for the first round, and then he doesn't play before the first round at all. But it sounds like he'll be ready. So I'm actually going to be at that game in Indianapolis on Friday. So it'll be interesting to see them. And I just think their path, maybe Boise State could give them a run. Boise State probably should not have been a 10 seed, but they have to beat Colorado in the first 4 first.
I think Florida gives them a run for their money.
Really?
Yeah.
I like Florida. I can't say I love them. And then, honestly, for Marquette to play a 3 seed that is Kentucky, with how up and down Kentucky's been, and once again, their defense isn't great. And to me, if you're Kentucky, you don't want to play a team with as much experience as Marquette has. And so I'm locking Marquette into the Elite Eight. I may be so wrong here because Shaka Smart has not made it past the first weekend since he went to the Final Four with VCU. Was that now 13 years ago in 2011? That's
Crazy.
That same tournament we just talked about when UConn won it all. So I may be out of my mind here, and maybe they do lose to Florida or Boise State in the second round. But I'm gonna say they're gonna make the Elite Eight.
Oh yeah, no, I love that pick, and I really like Marquette. It's not the Kolek injury that scares me; it's Iguodaro.
Just what?
Well, because I've got them.
Choke?
What?
You think he's going to choke?
I don't
What's
like
the
him
problem
against
with
DJ Burns.
In the Sweet 16?
Yeah.
I think you're looking too far in the future
Now,
here.
I will say, like,
Thank you, Zion.
I will say,
Thank you.
you look at DJ Burns and you look at Oso Iguodaro, and they are 2 big men that are built very differently.
Yes,
So,
that's true.
If that matchup did happen, one of those two would have to dictate the game. It will not be like 50-50. Either Iguodaro is going to outrun him down the court all the time, or Burns is going to just put him under the hoop every possession. So that would be something to watch if that happened. But NC State's got to get there for it to happen.
Yeah, and I think it happens. I mean, Marquette, like, they're going to have to double Burns. I mean, Iguodaro won't be. And I'll tell you what, DJ Burns, excellent
Great
passer.
Yeah.
As big as this man is, he's got a very I mean, I don't want to just pick another lefty, but he's got a very Domantas Sabonis type pass out of the post, which I like a lot. So I don't know. NC State's one that I'm watching, but gosh, if I gotta stamp my name on a team and say this is how far I think they're going, I don't know. This bracket is as weird as I've ever seen with the selection committee just doing an embarrassing job of seeding. Everything's all out of whack. But I really like Auburn. I do. I mean, the metrics are just too good. I think they've got the lowest combined offensive and defensive efficiency, and I say lowest, like lowest number, because what are they? They're top 10 in both, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they are.
They fourth and 10th.
10th in offense, 4th in defense.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just
on KenPom.
That's a ridiculous statistic,
Is that the
especially
only
for a
one
4
that's
seed.
top 10 in both?
Yeah. I mean, that's because we kept Indiana State out. No, I'm just kidding. Indiana State doesn't fit the bill, but they are a stellar basketball team, and I'll die on that hill. Yeah, I really like Auburn to make a deep run. The only issue is they're going to have to get past UConn. UConn, I think, will be their toughest matchup, no matter how far they go. So I really like two-headed guard duos. Really like that. I mean, that's why I like Houston, obviously with Shed and Cryer. But Auburn, I like Donaldson. I like Holloway. Obviously, Janai Broom has been just dominant this year in the SEC. And so, I don't know. There's just too much to like about that team to count them out against anybody. And if they do what they can against UConn, I think they win that one handily on the right day. And then I really just, I don't know. I don't see a ton of teams that I think can beat Auburn more than 50% of the time. And so I really like Auburn to make a deep run. They're definitely a team I'm going to have winning in multiple brackets because I've got a lot to make. All right, now teams replacing flop of the week. We'll go with teams that you think are really on upset watch, teams that were maybe, seated a bit too high, teams that are facing off against like a quality mid-major, really just, like I said, teams that you think could get bounced early.
I'm going to go with Arizona here. I think that they were seeded properly. I have no problem with the way that they were seeded. I just think that they're an upset-prone team. They lost to Stanford, Oregon State, and USC during the regular season. Two of those teams were outside the top 100 in KenPom, and USC only made it inside the top 100 because they charged on late. It kind of feels like they're an all-or-nothing team at times, and their nothing looks really bad. If they lost to Long Beach State, I wouldn't be surprised. If they're playing the national championship game, I guess I would be a little bit surprised that they didn't get upset, but it's something I can envision. And their guards are streaky. Kellen Boswell sometimes just isn't effective and isn't in games. And Caleb Love is obviously can be a very streaky shooter. They lost to Princeton last year in the first round, lost in the Sweet 16 2 years ago when I thought that they were the best team in college basketball. And Tommy Lloyd's an exceptional regular season coach. I don't know if the way that his teams are built are going to win in the tournament. So I think Arizona is the biggest upset-prone team.
See, I'm going to have to push back just a little bit on that. I really like Arizona going to this tournament. I think you're definitely just in saying that they're a team that is prone to some upsets. The Stanford loss, not just that they lose to Stanford, but they gave up 100 points to Stanford, which is embarrassing. I might give up fewer than no, I'm not going to say that.
5 of you mean? Because there's no way one of you isn't giving up 100 to Stanford.
I don't know, man. I don't know. 5 of me might give up sub 30. On a good day, we're holding them to single digits.
To Stanford?
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I'm a friggin' baller. What I really, really like about Arizona is the center duo of Ballo and Krivas. Because I think when you get into March, teams get antsy, they push the play, and you get a lot of people in foul trouble. And something about Omar Ballo is he draws fouls at an exceptionally high rate. So I like him being able to get opposing centers in foul trouble because they have a 7'2" freshman who's played in all 33 games that can spell him and come off the bench and just provide good minutes against the backup center. So that's just a little thing that I like about Arizona that I think.
Can I give 2 rebuttals to that, though?
No.
I'm going to give my...
Go ahead.
As much as Umar Ballo draws those fouls, it's a 50% free throw shooter. So it's like, assuming his averages hold to form, you're not really scared of putting him on the line.
Yeah, it's 1 point per possession.
Yeah, that's about average, right?
A little below, yeah.
And the other thing is that they don't have a player, and Caleb Love sometimes can be this, but they don't have a player that, let's say we were up 4 and then I don't know where we gave up a 7-0 run. They don't have a player you can just say, let's give the ball to him and he's going to get us a bucket right here.
I disagree with that. I think Caleb Love is like the image of that.
Is he though?
Oh,
Because he's so
he's gonna take a shot.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. We know that he's going to shoot at the ball, but is it going to go in? I don't know. I like when the shots go in the basket. I don't know about you, Josh, but
I'm a fan of it.
it works, you know.
That's why I've got McNeese in the Final Four.
But yeah, that's the issue with Caleb Love is that we know how streaky he is. And, you know, to his credit, we've seen his streakiness lead a team to being up 15 points at halftime of a national championship game. But we've also seen his streakiness lead to a terrible season last year. And it's part of the reason Arizona is beginning to slide right now. I don't love that team. They weren't my pick, but I'm kind of with Josh here.
I don't know. I like them. I like lineup continuity. I like that 5 of their 6 starters have started all 33 games. Or hold on.
4 of their 5?
4 of their 5 starters.
Well, no wonder they've been so good. They're starting 6 players.
Hey, listen, if I started 6 players.
Okay.
All right, Zion, who's your pick on upset watch? Because you can't just steal Arizona.
I'm not.
Right.
And we mentioned it earlier. I'm gonna go back to Houston and just because of the bracket and because of who they're going against. Like I said, Nebraska and A&M are capable of beating Houston in the second round. And then I don't know who I actually am picking to come out of that other side with the Wisconsin, JMU, Duke, and Vermont. But if it's Wisconsin, I don't think JMU is going to be able to handle the physicality of Houston. But if it's Wisconsin or Duke, I think they certainly could. And so that's why I look at this Houston team, and I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, they're certainly a Final Four capable team, but you look at a team that could go out earlier than we expect. I do feel like it's the Cougars this year just because of the draw they got.
Sure. Houston, we've seen it the last few years. They've been really high seeded and just haven't really been able to put it together. They're a team I definitely think, I'm definitely not the only person in the country that thinks this, but I think this could definitely be their year. I really, really like guard play.
And we thought the same last year too. So I'm not saying that as like a slight to them, but it's just like, you know, when you're a program as good as Houston is every year and they haven't won yet, we just are same with Purdue, same with Arizona. We're just going to say this could be their year every year until they actually do it.
I think for me, if I had to pick a team to get upset, it would probably be, and I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this because I have a lot of good friends from the great state of Iowa, but I think Iowa State is a team I could definitely see losing early. I don't know about losing to the Jackrabbits, perennial powerhouse South Dakota State.
Can I just say Cyclones versus Jackrabbits, elite mascot matchup.
Absolutely. An all-timer. But I like Drake to come out of that matchup with Wazoo. Drake has shot the ball exceptionally well lately. They don't turn it over much. And they actually force turnovers at a reasonably high rate. So I like Drake to come out of that matchup with Wazoo. And then a Drake-Iowa State matchup is one I think could be really intriguing just because of like the differences in style of play. I mean, Iowa's straight defense, Drake scores at will. So I don't know if Iowa State is able to make it past the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State. I think Drake could definitely give them fits. So Iowa State definitely on upset watch for me. I mean, this Drake team is a team that just took down the best team in the country earlier this week against the Sycamores. So they can bang with any team in the nation right now. That's the team I'm really excited for because I sort of have to live vicariously through them since, as alluded to earlier, Indiana State was overlooked by the selection committee.
If Drake wins the national championship,
Indiana State got second.
Basically, that's the way I like to think about it.
Amen. Did you guys watch that game, by the way?
I caught glimpses of it, yeah.
Indiana State down 18 and came all the way back to take a lead and then just didn't have enough juice to finish it out in the last 4 minutes. I'm ashamed to say that I cried. I didn't. I'm lying, but I want to sound like I really cared, which I did. But I didn't cry. I don't cry. All right. We're going to finish out with my favorite segment, and I'm going to go last because it is my favorite, and I'm the host, right?
Correct.
Right, Owen? Yep.
The producer shakes his head yes.
Yes. The producer didn't actually say anything into the microphone because we turned it off. We don't like him to talk.
You are the host.
Did I not call you the... Did I call you the host?
He turned his microphone on. He wasn't too scared.
I almost forgot you were here.
All right, man.
Our producer's actually playing Candy Crush right now, if you'd believe me. All right. So we're going to get into shot clock. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, each one of our panelists is going to have, I guess, are we a panel? We're not a panel. Each one of our people in the room, other than other than our muted producer, is going to have 30 seconds to just talk about whatever they want to talk about within the scope of college basketball. Who wants to start? Do we want to go?
I can start because I think mine will lead into Josh's, and then yours is just going to be a show. So
yeah, joke's on you, Josh. St. Patrick's Day was yesterday. The Redheads got away. All right, Zion, all you.
All right, we ready here?
And
All
your
right.
shot clock starts. You were just ready to go. You're ready to jump right in.
I'm ready for own and press
Deep
button.
end.
There we go.
Go.
Why in the world did Virginia get in this tournament? I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense. Their best win was either against Florida or Clemson. Okay, I guess those are a 6 and a 7 seed. Their metrics aren't even good. Michigan State, you can say the metrics still love them. Virginia is 54th in the net and 69th in the KenPom. They were 2-7 in quad one, and they're boring to watch. This is a television product at the end of the day. Who wants to see this team in the tournament? Nobody. It just doesn't make sense why Virginia got in.
I think the only person that wants to watch Virginia in the tournament is their fans, and I don't even know if their fans want to watch Virginia in the tournament. I guess I don't have a pulse on the Cavalier Nation, but I think everyone in America wanted to see Indiana State. Nobody in America wants to see Virginia. If they were
I would
flopped
much rather
out,
see
I don't
Indiana
think anyone would
State,
care.
Seton Hall, St. John's. Those are fun teams to watch.
Mississippi Valley State. Dead last in KenPom.
But the Virginia pick just doesn't make sense. They're in a weak conference. They got to play a 1 seed, lost. They got to play Duke, a 4 seed, lost. They're just not good. I don't get it.
I agree.
I mean, significantly over the shot clock. We needed
Yeah.
3 or 4 offensive
I
rebounds.
worked
You
off
got-
of Josh's comment.
Yeah, he got it in the shot clock. Normally we have
And
like a
then
little
you-
banter afterwards, don't we?
True. Yeah, I mean a little. And
All
then-
right.
So you, shot clock expired, but Josh took it down.
Yeah, I got another possession.
He
Basically.
missed the shot
a little quick
because he's
possession.
not Indiana State. And then it came back to Zion's end for the response. And I'd say, I'm not going to say you dunked it, but I mean, layups are worth 2.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. So we'll move on to Josh. Josh, are you ready?
I am ready.
Are you steady?
I am steady.
Spaghetti?
Spaghetti.
That's a weird thing to say on a college basketball broadcast.
Let's cook.
Go.
All right. I think we need a new selection committee. There's really no reason why athletic directors from across the country and conference commissioners should be choosing who's in the tournament. I think that they probably don't even watch basketball the whole year and probably have their own personal biases to push as well. Twitter bracketologists and bracketologists across the country are way more plugged in with college basketball and would put together a way more logical bracket. And I think, honestly, we just choose the 10 best bracketologists, put them in a room together, and I think they would come up with the best bracket possible.
Wow.
Well under.
Significantly under.
There we go.
Excellent work. And honestly, a good take.
Yeah.
I am,
For sure.
granted, I do get kind of tired of the Twitter bracketologists, but I think that's probably fueled mostly by a lot of them said that Indiana State was a first 4-out team for the last week and a half, which I think
But
is
they
bizarre.
ended up being
I
right.
know, but I don't want to hear it. They might be right, but they also
Let's get to your shot clock because I mean we know where it's going here.
I don't know that you do.
Oh.
All right. Ugh. Okay, I'm ready. I was under for the first time ever last time too,
3,
but I've had 2 weeks to think.
2, 1, go.
All right, my gripe is with the people who think that expansion would be bad for the NCAA tournament because I feel like that is a very basketball purist idea. And when I say that, I mean people probably say that they want basketball to remain the same. But people said that about a 32-team field. They didn't want to expand to 64. People had major issues with adding the play-in to expand it to 68, but at the end of the day, it's extra basketball, and it allows for more mid-major teams to get in, such as the Indiana States, the Seton Halls, these teams that, were overlooked. So I think those people need to be quiet.
So what number? What's your number?
I like 96. I'll be honest, I don't even dislike 128. I probably like 96 more now, but I mean, it's extra basketball. And a big argument that a lot of people make is that you're eliminating the big upsets, that when you start to allow these, worse teams into the tournament, teams like Indiana probably would have been a bubble team if it was a 96 team field. And when you let a team like Indiana into the tournament, people have an issue with that because they think there's not going to be as many quality upsets. But people don't think 16 seeds are beating 1 seeds anyway. People don't think 15 seeds are beating 2 seeds, but St. Peter's made it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Made it to the Elite Eight.
Here's what I'll ask you. You just said this upcoming Thursday is your 5th favorite day of the year. Do you feel like that'd be diminished if you were seeing the 128th team, or not the 128th best, but if you were seeing double the amount of teams and just much worse teams be in the tournament on this Thursday than you're used to at the very beginning?
I don't think so, because I think right now you still see some pretty bad teams
For sure.
that make it into the tournament. Would it not be more exciting to see some of those bad teams play each other? Like, it's just extra basketball at the end of the day.
I think 100. I think like 330 or however many teams make their conference tournaments. I mean, March Madness starts in conference championship week. If you want to watch the bad teams play each other, they play each other in champ week. I think if you're going to expand the tournament, maybe you add 8 more teams, you add a few more playing games, and 4 of them have to be from mid-major conferences.
Sure.
I think that's the only thing I can get behind. Or
Sure.
you just like tweak the first 4 and make them all mid-majors. I don't know.
So
I just want to see more mid-majors in.
how big of a field do you think? Because I'm all for, if you expand the field, there should be a certain number of those spots allotted to mid-majors. But what's your field size if there had to be an expansion?
Add 8 more teams.
8 more?
Give.
Listen, if Indiana State gets it, I'm here
I
for
think
it.
you give all. I think you give all teams that won their conference championships bids into the first round of the tournament.
Sure.
You restructure the first 4, and you do like 8 first 4 games, and they're all at larges.
I don't hate that.
I don't hate that. I'd
I
like
just came up
96.
off the top of my head. That's. I don't
You
want
win.
expansion. I definitely don't want expansion. But if that's the expansion, I think that's the way I would structure it.
All right. Well, we have conflicting ideas, Josh, and I'm not going to say that mine is right, but yours is wrong. No, I'm obviously kidding. Yeah, that was this edition of the Flop Warning. It was a little more chaotic because they let me host this week, but I'm sure it's only going to get more chaotic and more. I'm trying to figure out how to fit madness into this. There's going to be
Maddening.
more maddening. No, but we're not making people angry. I don't think.
Some people are going to be angry.
Some people are going to be
You
angry.
were angry that Indiana State's not in.
I wasn't as much angry as I was furious.
Those are direct synonyms. They fall under the same tree.
Devastated, I think, is
There
another
we go.
good one.
Yeah, that works.
Beside myself, confused, tired. Gosh, it was exhausting. I've been singing their praises the entire year. They're the best.
You are basically the sycamore. You're like the mascot. You're the tree.
What's
You are
crazy
the
is
tree.
I know the mascot.
That's funny.
It's the brother of a.
Well, don't expose
Whoa,
them.
whoa,
I'm not going to say his
whoa.
name. I'll tell you what. I don't even remember the friend. I just know that one of my close friends is the brother, or is the either brother or sister. No, sister. Now I know who it is.
All right, don't
Yeah.
expose. Don't
Of
expose
course,
the
I'm not going to
mascot.
say his name. Gosh, I don't know his first name, and maybe don't even know his last name. But I do know the mascot, and not that I would recognize him. But anyways, you get me off on a tangent, man. Indiana State should have made the tournament. I've been Elias Corey with my 2 lovely guests.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Lovely-ish. Zion, do you want to be lovely?
I would love to.
Oh, all right. So with Josh Bodie and Zion Brown, and Owen's been here too, but he's just kind of been pressing some buttons. Thank you, Owen, our lovely crew. That'll be all for this edition of the Flop Warning. We will be back on Wednesday with our Women's Wednesday edition. They're going to go through some pretty similar stuff, and the next time you hear from us, we'll have some matchups to recap. Everybody have a good week. That we end this. And I hope your brackets go well. I woke up this morning and mine was still perfect, so I feel good. But that'll do it. Have a good day, everybody.